if your mental image of Pattaya, Thailand, is, still just endless neon lights, wet pavement, and this chaotic 24/7 party that never takes its foot off the gas, well, you are operating on outdated software.
Oh, completely outdated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because according to the stack of sources we are unpacking today, if you bring that 1990s mindset into 2026, you're going to miss the actual reality of the city entirely. I mean, the DNA of this place has completely rewritten itself.
It's a radical transformation, and what makes the source material we're looking at today so compelling is that it doesn't just skim the surface. We're looking at a highly detailed insider's framework designed to decode the modern iteration of this city.
Yeah, we're seeing a real structural shift.
Exactly, a shift in the demographics it attracts, the infrastructure being built, and the underlying economics of how the whole region operates now.
Which is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We are taking this insider guide and extracting the absolute essentials so you, the listener, can shortcut your way to being a true Pattaya insider. We want to look past the superficial tourist traps to uncover the real mechanics of the city.
Right, getting down to the actual foundation of it all.
Totally, from massive cultural monuments to the hidden local streets. And, since we are talking about a city that has rapidly evolved into a major hub for long-term investment and series development, this is actually the perfect time to mention that this video is sponsored by Miya Solutions.
A very timely sponsor for this specific topic, honestly.
100%. They are a real estate investment and business consultancy based right there in Pattaya, which you can contact for a free consultation. So if you are looking to understand the shifting business landscape or you want to build something there yourself, all their contact details are mentioned in the description.
It is a great resource to keep in mind, especially as we get into how much the city's economic footprint is expanding beyond traditional tourism. I mean, it's really moving into real estate and sustained expat infrastructure.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because to really understand this evolution, the guide suggests we have to throw away those old neon-soaked stereotypes immediately.
Yeah, just toss them out.
Right, and start somewhere that feels entirely contradictory to the old Pattaya brand. We are starting with colossal monumental culture in the Nakula area, specifically the Sanctuary of Truth.
Yeah, if you want to shatter the illusion of Pattaya as just a one-dimensional playground, the Sanctuary of Truth is the ultimate starting point. I mean, it isn't just a building, it's a profound architectural statement.
The scale of it absolutely blew my mind when I was reading the notes. It's a massive structure built entirely out of teak wood, and the guide emphasizes this heavily. There are absolutely no metal nails used in the construction. Zero.
Not at all. Yeah, it's wild.
I was trying to visualize this, and it sounds less like a standard building and more like a massive, like a giant philosophical Jenga tower. Every single piece is a custom carved joint, relying on tension, wooden pegs, and gravity instead of a single iron nail.
What's fascinating here is the sheer audacity of the engineering. I mean, they are using ancient Thai woodworking techniques to literally map out Hindu and Buddhist philosophy.
Wow.
Yeah, essentially the structure is a physical representation of human existence and our relationship with the universe.
But here is where I wanted to push back on the guide a little bit, because usually, insider guides tell you to avoid the organized guided tours. They say they're rigid tourist traps and you should just wander around and soak up the vibe.
Right, the usual advice.
Yeah, but this source is incredibly insistent that you must take the guided tour here. Why the sudden shift in strategy?
Well, it's because the Sanctuary of Truth isn't a static visual, it's a narrative. I mean, every single inch of that wood is hand-carved with specific spiritual art.
So it's telling a story.
Exactly. If you just walk through to snap some wide-angle photos for your social media, you are looking at a pretty building and completely missing the language it's speaking. But if you take the tour, you are effectively having a book about Eastern philosophy translated for you in real time.
That makes a lot of sense.
And plus, the building is in a state of constant, perpetual construction.
Wait, really? So it's a living monument. You are actually watching the artisans actively carve the philosophy into the wood while you stand there.
Precisely. And the logistics the guide provides are crucial for actually enjoying this.
Yeah.
You are entering a massive, unair-conditioned wooden structure in a tropical climate.
Oh man, the heat.
Yeah, the humidity inside can be intense. So the guide warns against going midday, advises dressing appropriately because it is a temple after all, and urges you not to rush. The why matters here. You are dedicating time to a once-in-a-lifetime architectural experience, not a quick photo op.
Right. Speaking of things that require a logistical strategy just to survive their massive scale, the sources immediately pivot from the sanctuary down to the Nong Nooch Tropical Garden in Nha Tien.
Calling that a garden is almost funny.
It really feels like a massive understatement. I mean, it is
Yeah.
basically a hybrid theme park with a staggering footprint. You've got French-style landscaping, a dinosaur valley.
Yeah, the dinosaurs always catch people off guard.
Right, dinosaur valleys, skywalks, these massive cactus installations. It's huge.
The sheer acreage is designed to capture you for an entire day. And this brings up a really brilliant point about the psychology of modern attraction design. They build it so large that you are completely immersed in their ecosystem.
Which naturally increases secondary spending, right, on
Yeah.
food, shows, transport within the park.
Exactly. It's a very deliberate model.
Which brings me to the absolute best survival tip in the entire source document. The author explicitly pleads with the reader. They say, do not try to be a hero. Rent the buggy.
Yes. Do not walk it.
I love the honesty here. The guide points out that Western tourists often show up thinking they're going for a brisk botanical stroll. But the Thai sun is unforgiving, and the sheer distances between the theme zones will physically break you.
It is a perfect example of how logistical knowledge protects your experience. I mean, if you try to conquer Nong Nooch on foot, the scale of it will ruin your day, and you'll be way too exhausted to appreciate the Thai cultural performances or the elephant shows they host.
Now, mentioning the elephant shows brings us to a fascinating transition in the guide. We move from these static cultural monuments into how Pattaya is redefining the active, living tourist experience to meet shifting global demands.
And this touches on a topic that is highly sensitive for a lot of modern travelers, which is animal tourism.
Right. So, how does a guide navigate that? Because it's a minefield.
It really is. But it raises an important question about market forces. You know, we often think of ethical shifts as purely moral. But the source material analyzes this through a fascinating economic lens. Western travelers, in particular, have fundamentally changed what they are willing to pay for.
So if I'm interpreting the guide correctly, it basically positions the Elephant Jungle Sanctuary as the modern ideal. And the defining feature of this sanctuary is what you cannot do there.
Right, it's about the restrictions.
Yeah, there's no riding, no unnatural circus performances at all.
And that absence of exploitation is exactly what modern tourists are purchasing now. The experience is centered entirely on observation and gentle interaction. You know, feeding them, bathing them, walking alongside them.
Which sounds way better anyway.
Totally. And the guide specifically warns tourists to avoid the older, fake sanctuaries that still offer riding under the guise of conservation. This ethical model is thriving because it aligns seamlessly with the values of the modern global traveler. The market demanded a change, and the infrastructure just adapted to it.
But what I found really interesting about this insider guide is that it doesn't just preach to you. Right next to the ethical elephant sanctuary, it brings up Tiger Park.
Ah, yes.
The Tiger Park.
Yeah, and the author doesn't sugarcoat it. The guide explicitly flags this location as controversial. It notes the ongoing global debates over whether the animals are sedated to allow tourists to get close-up photos.
That inclusion is a brilliant piece of writing, honestly. By acknowledging the controversy rather than pretending the entire city is this flawless ethical paradise, the guide builds immense trust with the reader.
It treats the reader like an adult.
Exactly. It presents the impartial reality of the market. It advises avoiding rough interactions, but ultimately it hands the ethical decision back to you. It's giving you the data so you aren't walking into a controversial environment blind.
Right. And while the wildlife debate is largely driven by Western ethical shifts, there is another massive force reshaping Pattaya's daytime identity, and that is the digital age.
Oh, the tech and content shift is huge. The city is leaning incredibly hard into high-tech viral entertainment. For instance, the guide mentions the frost magical ice of Siam. It's an indoor dome kept at -10 degrees Celsius, just filled with elaborate ice sculptures.
Talk about an architectural escape from the tropical reality outside.
Right. But the true manifestation of this digital shift is seen in the new water parks and interactive venues. Take the Columbia Pictures Aquaverse. The guide doesn't just call it a theme park. It specifically describes it as a content hotspot.
That phrasing is so deliberate. With venues like that, or the Ramayana Water Park, which is one of the largest in Southeast Asia, by the way, the physical infrastructure is almost secondary to the digital output.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, these spaces are designed with the camera lens in mind. They aren't just building a surf simulator, they are building a stage for your social media feed.
Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing.
Which perfectly explains the space and time cube. According to the notes, this is a venue filled with interactive LED rooms, mirror illusions, and light shows. It seems to exist for one sole reason.
To go viral.
Exactly. It is mathematically engineered to go viral on Instagram and YouTube Reels. Its lighting, reflection, and color palettes perfectly optimized for an algorithm.
It really is the architectural embodiment of the modern attention economy. But, as fascinating as this daytime, family-friendly, content-driven evolution is, a deep dive into Pattaya would be completely incomplete without examining the neon elephant in the room. We have to look at the nightlife.
We really do. But the guide forces us to look at it through a completely different lens. Instead of just seeing it as a chaotic collection of bars, it asks us to view the nightlife as an intricately designed, highly optimized business model.
And the terminology the author uses there is really striking. Walking Street in South Pattaya isn't referred to as a party zone. It's called the global identity of the Pattaya nightlife economy.
That word, economy, changes everything.
Wow.
Because when you walk down Walking Street between its peak hours of 9 p.m. and 2 a.m., it is a sensory overload.
Oh, absolutely overwhelming.
International crowds,
Right.
massive clubs, live music, just spilling out into the street. But beneath all that chaos, it is a hyper-efficient machine designed to extract revenue.
And that machine has multiple tiers. You have the street-level bars, but you also have high-end structured entertainment like the Alcazar Cabaret Show.
The cabaret shows are fascinating because the guide compares them directly to Las Vegas productions. We are talking massive stage designs, elaborate costumes, and highly choreographed professional lip-sync performances.
Very high production value.
Right. The insider tip here is to secure VIP seating for the sightlines. But there is a very specific logistical warning. The performers gather outside after the show for photos.
Right, the photo trap.
Yes. If you step into that crowd and take a picture, be prepared to hand over cash. It is a highly coordinated transaction disguised as a casual photo op.
Which brings us to the most complex economic ecosystem in the city, which is Soi 6. And the guide issues a very clear caveat that this street is not beginner-friendly.
So let's break down the mechanics of that, because the author calls it a masterclass in Pattaya's real nightlife business model. It's a high-pressure ecosystem. You walk in, and from what the sources describe, it's not like walking into your local pub to casually order a beer.
No, not at all.
It is a fast-paced environment built almost entirely on social leverage.
The psychology of it is intense. The business model relies on the social pressure to buy drinks. And not just for yourself, but for the staff. There are quotas, layered pricing structures, and an incredibly fast turnover expectation.
Wow.
Yeah, if you enter that environment without understanding the rules of engagement, your financial commitment can snowball in minutes.
So it's basically like walking onto a casino floor where the games are actually social interactions. You aren't paying for the liquid in the glass, you're paying for the social dynamic.
That's a great way to put it.
But if it's that intense, why does the guide even suggest going?
Honestly, for the sheer observational value, for a business-minded traveler, observing Soi 6 is like watching behavioral economics play out in real time. You go there just to watch the machine work.
That is a wild, slightly clinical way to look at a neon bar street, but it strips away the illusion perfectly. Now, if you want to experience the nightlife without needing a master's degree in behavioral economics, the guide points to Soi Buakal.
Yeah, Soi Buakal is the reality check. It's presented as the authentic, budget-friendly alternative. This is where the long-term expats and the seasoned residents actually spend their time.
Right, the local spot.
Exactly. The pricing is grounded in reality, not that hyperinflated tourist markup you see on Walking Street.
And the guide provides a fantastic counterbalance to all this neon intensity with two specific, very peaceful local spots. First is the Theprasit night market. This is the spot for authentic Thai street food.
The street food there is incredible.
But the rules of engagement are key here too. Negotiate respectfully and only eat at the stalls with long lines.
The logic there is universal, but it's especially critical in a tropical climate. High customer turnover equals fresh ingredients. The busy stall is the safe stall.
Exactly. And the ultimate visual contrast to the party chaos is Khao Chi Chan. This is a massive laser-carved image of the Buddha etched into the side of a mountain and inlaid with gold.
It's stunning.
The guide recommends arriving right at sunset. You just stand there looking at this colossal, serene golden Buddha as the sun goes down.
Yeah.
And it feels like you are on a totally different planet compared to the bar streets just a few miles away.
So we've mapped out the culture, the digital entertainment, and the underlying mechanics of the nightlife economy. We can clearly see how money flows through the different layers of the city. But the final and arguably most vital section of the source material transitions into protecting your personal logistics.
The survival guide. We've been circling this idea the entire deep dive, but let's let the specific stories prove it. Let's look at what the guide calls the beach illusion, because I guarantee you, thousands of people book a flight to Pattaya, check into a hotel right on Pattaya Beach, and expect to walk out onto pristine, untouched white sand.
And that expectation meets a very harsh reality.
Very harsh.
Pattaya Beach is fundamentally a city beach. It borders a major metropolitan area. The guide is incredibly blunt about this. The water quality is inconsistent due to urban runoff, it's heavily trafficked by commercial boats, and the shoreline is just crowded.
But the crazy thing is, the crystal clear water you see in the brochures does actually exist. You just need to know the hack to get there.
Right.
And the hack is remarkably simple. You bypass Pattaya Beach entirely, head down to Bali High Pier, and take a ferry to Koh Larn, which is an island about 7 kilometers offshore.
And the cost of that ferry reveals the true value of insider knowledge. It is roughly 30 Thai baht.
That's nothing.
I know. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you escape the city runoff and arrive at beaches like Tawan, Samai, or Tien. Those are the tropical, clear-water paradises tourists originally pictured.
The difference between a hugely disappointing vacation and a perfect beach day is literally a 30 baht ticket and a tiny bit of logistical data.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about the jet skis, because the guide flags the jet ski rentals on the main beaches as one of the most common and frankly financially severe traps in the city. How exactly does this mechanic work?
Okay, so the architecture of the scam relies on asymmetrical information and a lack of proof. You rent the jet ski, ride it, have a great time, and return it. The vendor then points to a scratch or a dent on the underside of the hull.
Which was probably already there.
Almost certainly already there, but they accuse you of causing it. And because they usually hold your passport or a hefty cash deposit as collateral, you are cornered. You have no proof you didn't cause the scratch, and you are forced into paying highly inflated, extortive repair costs just to get your passport back.
That is brutal. So your only defense is arming yourself with undeniable proof before the transaction even begins. The guide's primary advice is, honestly, just avoid renting them entirely.
Yeah, just skip it.
But if you absolutely must, the protocol is rigid. You take out your phone and record a slow, continuous 4K video sweeping over every single inch of the hull before you ever get on machine. You make sure the vendor watches you document every existing flaw.
Documentation is your armor in that situation. You are removing their leverage before they can even try to use it. And, the exact same logic applies to navigating the city's transport. The guide warns heavily against hailing random tuk-tuks or taxis off the street because they often just refuse to use meters.
Right, and then you are instantly forced into a street-side negotiation where the driver holds all the cards, the workaround. You completely bypass the negotiation phase by using the Grab app. The algorithm sets the price, it is locked in before you even open the car door, and the transaction is totally frictionless.
Exactly. And that same principle of avoiding the trap applies to lodging. If you try to save money by booking a budget hotel right in the middle of central Pattaya, you are mathematically guaranteeing you won't sleep.
Because of the clubs.
Yeah, the noise bleed from the open-air nightlife is relentless. The insider move is to look north to the Naklua area or south to Jomtien. You still get the budget pricing, but you remove yourself from the acoustic blast zone.
And if you are navigating those nightlife zones we talked about earlier, the guide lists 3 non-negotiable safety protocols. First, never accept random invitations from touts promising cheap drinks or secret shows. Those usually end in hidden rooms with massive extortive bills and bouncers blocking the door.
A classic trap.
Yep. Second, set a firm cash limit before you leave your hotel. And third, always check the physical menu prices before ordering. Assuming a drink will be cheap just because you are in Southeast Asia is exactly how you end up draining your wallet.
Every single one of these logistical tips reinforces the core thesis of this guide. Pattaya is a city that strictly rewards those who understand its mechanics and severely taxes those who don't.
So what does this all mean for you? I mean, the big takeaway from decoding this stack of sources is that holding on to the one-dimensional stereotype of a chaotic party town means you are missing the real city entirely.
You're missing the whole picture.
Right. Pattaya is a multi-layered, rapidly evolving destination. It offers world-class, philosophy-driven architecture. It is adapted to global ethical shifts in wildlife tourism. It's engineered massive digital-first entertainment hubs. And yes, it still runs a highly complex, heavily optimized nightlife economy.
But beneath all of those tourist-facing layers is a thriving, serious infrastructure. We are seeing sustained expat communities and massive long-term commercial real estate development. The city is growing up and diversifying its portfolio.
Which brings us right back to why our sponsor, Miya Solutions, is operating there. With all these diverse economic ecosystems thriving side by side, and the real estate market actively adapting to these new demographics, it makes total sense that a local consultancy would offer a free consultation to help people navigate it.
It's a very smart move to talk to locals.
Definitely. So if you want to understand the investment and business side of this evolution, definitely check their details in the description.
To really encapsulate the scale of the transformation we've uncovered today, I think we should look back to the very first location we discussed, the Sanctuary of Truth.
Ah, the massive wooden structure held together without a single nail.
Yes. Think about how the sources described it. It is a monument in a state of constant, perpetual construction. It is meticulously carved, it evolves day by day, and yet, by design, it is never quite finished.
That's a really powerful image.
And it leaves us with a fascinating thought to mull over. How perfectly does that wooden sanctuary mirror the city of Pattaya itself? It's a city constantly tearing down its outdated identity, carefully engineering a new one, and challenging everyone who visits to reconsider what it will become next.